We open with a major story out of Israel as the Mossad has revealed the identity of the mastermind behind an international network allegedly responsible for attempted attacks and kidnappings against Israelis and Jews around the world. Sardar Amal, head of Unit 11,000 with the Islamic Republic's Quds Force, established a covert unit responsible for carrying out acts of terrorism against Jewish institutions and individuals, both in Israel and abroad, including in Europe and in Australia. According to the Mossad, the statement, the network conducted acts of vandalism and arson attacks against Jewish-owned businesses, Chabad centers, and synagogues, as well as direct physical violence against Jewish figures. Many of the planned attacks were thwarted, leading to the revelation of this network. Additionally, the Mossad said the Iranian terror network used compartmentalized cells, foreign national recruits, and criminal proxies to avoid a direct connection to the Iranian regime. And moving on, U.S. President Donald Trump issued a 48-hour ultimatum to Hamas, warning return the hostage remains or expect action from the ceasefire agreement partners. Trump was speaking from Air Force One during a stopover in Qatar en route to the Far East. Over the weekend, Trump warned forcefully against Israeli annexation of Judea and Samaria. We get more from ILTV's Steve Leibovitz.
President Trump made the unprecedented move of hosting Qatari leaders on Air Force One during a stopover in Doha. Writing on his social media platform during a refueling stop, Trump posted, "We have a very strong peace in the Middle East, and I believe it has a good chance of being everlasting. Hamas is going to have to start returning the bodies of the deceased hostages, including 2 Americans, quickly, or the other countries involved in this great peace will take action. Some of the bodies are hard to reach, but others they can return now, and for some reason they are not." He gave a 48-hour deadline. Trump said he was honored by the presence of the Qatari Emir and Prime Minister. He called Qatar a great U.S. ally and said that Doha is willing to contribute peacekeeping troops to Gaza.
What we've done is incredible. Peace to the Middle East. And they were a very big factor in it, so I just want to thank you. I was thinking, we're landing here, we're going to fuel up, and it's such an honor to have you on the plane. I know you don't do this often.
Never, first time.
I don't think he's ever done this, actually. But it's an honor. We have a great ally. He's a great ally. They are a great ally, and these are 2 great men. And as long as we're together and you have those cameras rolling, I want to just say we express our thanks. And you have a safe Middle East right now, and you're going to keep it that way for a long time.
Earlier, speaking at the White House, President Trump dismissed concerns that Israel could annex Judea and Samaria. Asked about annexation, Trump said this.
The West Bank is, don't worry about the West Bank. Israel's not going to do anything with the West Bank, okay? Don't worry about it. Is that your question? They're not going to do anything with the West Bank. Don't worry about it. Israel's doing very well. They're not going to do anything with it.
The comment came after the Knesset advanced 2 annexation bills while Vice President J.D. Vance was visiting Israel last week, a move that angered U.S. officials.
And after President Trump's 48-hour ultimatum to Hamas, new developments are emerging in the hostage return efforts. Meanwhile, in Tel Aviv, families and supporters rallied last night demanding the government bring every loved one home for proper burial. For more, we go to ILTV correspondent India. Naftali, India, what can you tell us?
Well, Egyptian teams are now searching in Gaza for the remaining bodies, as families here in Israel continue to demand answers. Meanwhile, some freed hostages are beginning to return to everyday life. Arab media aired footage showing Egyptian teams and heavy machinery entering Gaza after Israel authorized the operation to locate and retrieve the bodies of the hostages. The teams were allowed in with direct approval from Prime Minister Netanyahu. Under the first phase of the U.S. brokered ceasefire deal, Hamas has so far transferred 15 of the 28 deceased hostages. A senior Israeli official says Hamas now claims it does not know the location of at least 5 of the remaining bodies. Secretary of State Marco Rubio and U.S. Ambassador to Israel Mike Huckabee met with the families of Itai Chen and Omer Neutra, who are 2 U.S. citizens that were killed on October 7th. Their bodies are still among those being held by Hamas. Huckabee remarked that the peace plan cannot work until all the hostages, living and deceased, are released. In Tel Aviv last night, hundreds filled Hostage Square, calling on the government to bring the fallen hostages home. Protesters held photos of the victims and demanded that their bodies be returned for burial. The rally came as Rubio departed for Qatar to continue supporting the ceasefire framework. Meanwhile, the freed living hostages continue to rebuild. Alon Ohel, now discharged from the hospital and entering rehabilitation, thanked Israelis for standing by his family.
חשוב לי להגיד לכולכם תודה עצומה ענקית על התמיכה במשפחה. זה כל כך לא מובן מאליו. אני הייתי שם עמוק מתחת לאדמה, לא שמעתי הרבה, אבל כשיצאתי סיפרו לי דברים מדהימים על איך שתמכתם במשפחה שלי.
Former hostage Omri Miran, who is back home with his wife and daughters, says he will continue advocating until the last hostage is returned. And Matan Angrest, after a week of supervised recovery, has now returned home. So Israel is breathing again, but not fully. There's relief for those who came home and determination to bring back those who did not. Families say this mission is not over. Back to you.
Thank you, India, for the report. And moving on, the U.S. has reportedly begun flying drones over Gaza to provide Washington an independent assessment of developments and to support the Civil Military Coordination Center, or CMCC, now operating under U.S. leadership from Kiryat Gat in Israel. More from ILTV's Devo Klein.
According to the New York Times, the U.S. military is flying the spy drones over Gaza with Israel's consent. The drones are reportedly operated from the CMCC Coordination Center. They are tasked with overseeing humanitarian, logistical, and security aid into Gaza as part of the post-war stabilization effort. About 200 American military personnel have been deployed to help run the facility, which also includes troops from Jordan, the UK, Germany, Denmark, Canada, Australia, France, Spain, and the UAE. U.S. Central Command stressed that American forces will not enter Gaza itself. The surveillance flight suggests that the administration wants to know what's happening in the enclave, independent of Israeli intelligence. According to quoted officials, it's part of a broader effort to ensure that both Hamas and Israel are complying with the fragile ceasefire. Throughout the war, the IDF has relied heavily on drones for intelligence collection in its campaign against Hamas. However, the new U.S. flights suggest that Washington now seeks an independent, first-hand understanding of the situation on the ground. The U.S. State Department and the IDF declined to comment on the report. The reported move underscores U.S. determination to safeguard the peace framework brokered by President Donald Trump and his team, led by Special Envoy Steve Witkoff and Senior Advisor Jared Kushner. Meanwhile, anti-Hamas militia leaders in Gaza announced their opposition to any role for Turkey or Qatar in post-war governance, accusing both countries of supporting Hamas and calling them, quote, war criminals. The statement came from Hussam al-Astal, a clan leader in Khan Yunis, who said only those helping fight Hamas would be welcomed. Under the ceasefire, some areas where these clans operate remain under Israeli control. Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu has previously acknowledged providing arms to Palestinian groups opposing Hamas, though without naming them directly.
And U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio completed his weekend visit to Israel with a meeting with released Israeli hostages, where he vowed not to forget the lives of the remaining hostages who died in captivity. Before heading to Qatar, Rubio visited the U.S.-led Gaza Operations Center in Kiryat Gat, where he revealed some details of Washington's post-Gaza war vision moving forward. Back to ILTV's Steve Leibovitz.
Secretary of State Rubio made clear that Hamas will be disarmed and Israel will have a say in choosing which nations take part in the U.S.-led international stabilization plan.
We haven't formed that force yet, so there's still work going on. There's a lot of countries that are offered to do it. Obviously, as you put together this force, it'll have to be people that Israel's comfortable, or countries that Israel's comfortable with as well. Let me just say that I think there are a lot of countries that are expressing interest right now.
Flanked by U.S. officers stationed at the Kiryat Gat Gaza Coordination Center with flags of participating nations on display, Secretary Rubio said the Trump peace plan, which includes a regional ceasefire and Gaza reconstruction framework, is the best and only plan for stability in the region. Rubio stressed that Hamas must be disarmed, but stopped short of saying Israel would need U.S. permission to resume fighting against Hamas if violence flares.
We fully expect that Hamas will fully demilitarize. That is the agreement they signed on to. That is the agreement that all of the nation states that joined this effort signed on to, and we expect it to be fulfilled. Suffice it to say that everyone that signed on to this plan, all of these other countries agreed, and everyone agreed that Hamas cannot govern and cannot be involved in governing the future of Gaza. Everyone's agreed to that.
Rubio was non-committal about a role for the Palestinian Authority in post-war Gaza.
I mean, obviously, you know, and I've expressed and we've expressed our concerns about the Palestinian Authority as it stands today. It's certainly in need of reform. As far as what role it's going to play in the future of Gaza, that's yet to be determined, if any role at all. We don't know. I mean, that's what's being worked on.
On the humanitarian front, Rubio made clear that the UN relief agency UNRWA will have no role in post-war aid to Gaza, calling the organization a subsidiary of Hamas.
UNRWA is not going to play any role in it. The UN is here. The UN is. We're seeing the work they're doing. The World Food Program. There's also not-profit NGOs, you know, humanitarian assistance organizations that are involved in this. Samaritan's Purse. So it's a conglomeration of about 8 to 12 groups that are here. The United Nations is here. They're on the ground. We're willing to work with them if they can make it work. But not UNRWA. UNRWA became a subsidiary of Hamas.
Rubio's comment was welcome in Jerusalem after the International Court of Justice dismissed Israel's claim that Hamas has infiltrated UNRWA and issued a non-binding ruling that Israel must work with the agency.
And joining us now with more on the latest developments is Brigadier General Yosef Kuperwasser, former head of research at IDF Intelligence. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So, U.S. President Donald Trump is once again issuing an ultimatum to Hamas. You know, I've lost count, but he's issued many such ultimatums before, promising that all hell will break loose. Is anyone taking him seriously at this point, especially, of course, Hamas?
Well, I think Hamas takes him seriously. They're not totally convinced, but they take into account the fact that this is being said by the leader of the world, or the most important leader in the world. They have to take it seriously. His enthusiasm and commitment made everybody else support this plan, and they have to take seriously this message. At the same time, I think they believe that they can still play around and hope that nobody is going to invest the necessary effort in order to disarm them and to use the time they gain by prolonging the period through which they return the bodies of the deceased hostages in order to strengthen their position on the ground and convince everybody that it wouldn't be a wise move to try to disarm them by force. So they take him seriously, but they still believe that they can get away with it.
And so what is happening inside of Gaza right now? I mean, how much of the Strip does Hamas control? How much of the areas that the IDF has withdrawn from does Hamas control now?
Well, most of the areas that Israel withdrew from are under the control of Hamas, including also, of course, those areas that Israel didn't take control of even towards the end of this military operation. And the most important thing is not how much of the territory they control, but how much of the population they control. And they control almost all of the population, with the exception of a relatively small amount of people that live in the areas controlled by Israel, mainly in the Rafah area. The rest of it is less populated, and the people live in the areas under Hamas control. And what they do in the meanwhile is make sure that they are in control in the minds of the people that live under their control. And that's why they take action against those who challenge them, especially the clans and other people that came out against them. And this is the battle they're trying to fight right now, to make sure that they really control the population in the areas they control.
And I want to also address this report in the New York Times about the United States sending in its drones to collect surveillance intelligence so as not to rely on the Israeli intelligence. I mean, what do you make of this report?
Well, you know, the Americans suspect both sides of not being committed to the ceasefire and to the plan. And they want to have their own sources that they do not have to rely on Israeli information or any other sort of information. And it's a good thing because the reality is that Israel is most of the time correct in its description of the situation. And if the Americans want to have it from their own sources, let it be. I think we did the good decision by allowing them to operate this way as long as there is a ceasefire. If there's not going to be the end of this the ceasefire, then they will have to move back because this is going to interfere with our ability to see what's going on. But as long as the ceasefire holds, why not?
And this leads to the next question, which is, has the U.S. essentially taken control over Gaza? I mean, Prime Minister Netanyahu is insisting that this is a joint operation, but the U.S. seems to be the one calling all the shots. I mean, is that your assessment?
Well, they're not calling all of the shots, and we heard Secretary Rubio saying that the decisions are going to be in line with what Israel is going to approve or not. And but yes, the President Trump said right from the beginning that this is his plan, and this is the only plan, and he's responsible for that, and he has shown readiness to stand in the head of the board of peace that's going to oversee the implementation of the plan. So it's good that we have this deep American intervention and involvement. It's a major guarantee that this deal is going to be materialized. And the most important challenge that lies in front of the Americans in this respect is to make sure that not only all the bodies of the deceased hostages are coming back, but also to make sure that Hamas is disarmed. That's the most important element in the deal, the most controversial one from the Hamas point of view. And we, by letting the United States to be in charge, increase considerably the commitment of the Americans to making sure that Hamas is disarmed. And that's the most important thing from our point of view.
Absolutely. It does seem that Israel and the United States are both very much interested in seeing this peace agreement come to fruition. Brigadier General Yosef Cooper-Wasser, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you.
On October 7, I was here at the Nova Music Festival. I ran for my life, hid for 7 hours. Terrorists shot me twice. Thankfully, I survived. I'm still dealing with trauma, and I'm not alone. 3 million Israelis are in trauma. They need mental health care or physical rehabilitation. Wounded soldiers, families, and scared children.
Since 1912, Hadassah has been a life-changing force in Israel. Today, Hadassah has 2 world-renowned hospitals, pioneers breakthrough medical research, cares for youth, and has built the much-needed and largest rehabilitation facility in Jerusalem.
Thank you to everyone at Hadassah Hospitals. You've been helping me, and so many others. And a special thanks to one nurse, my mom. I love you.
And moving on, the UN Security Council met to discuss the situation in Gaza. The Israeli ambassador to the UN, Danny Danon, told the UN Security Council that it doesn't understand the reality on the ground in the Gaza Strip. Danon accused the council of implicitly approving of Hamas due to the global body's dangerous silence on the public executions. Most diplomats attending the meeting expressed support for the ceasefire, while urging the delivery of more aid and advancing the American-Israeli Arab peace plan. Meanwhile, Mike Waltz, the U.S. ambassador to the world body, said that Hamas has not fulfilled its obligations under the deal. Washington is reportedly crafting a resolution in support of the peace plan.
But our struggle is not over. There can be no peace, no future, and no rebuilding of Gaza while terror still remains. 13 fallen hostages remain in Hamas's hands. We will bring them home and give them the dignity they deserve. The world must keep the pressure where it belongs, on Hamas, to return the hostages, to lay down its weapons, and to honor the peace plan it signed.
And this next story is really unbelievable. Imagine going on vacation to a 5-star luxury resort only to share a swim in the pool with a murderer, or stand in line at the buffet with a man who orchestrated the bombings of innocent civilians. Well, that is the experience of some tourists, according to a new report in the British Daily Mail, which claims that 154 terrorists deported under the Gaza ceasefire are staying at a five-star hotel in Cairo. According to the report, the former prisoners released by Israel in exchange for hostages after the onset of the war on October 7, 2023, were sent to Egypt and appear to be living in luxury at the Renaissance Cairo Mirage Hotel, a Marriott-managed property near Cairo. Among them are convicted former members of Hamas, Fatah, and other terror groups convicted of murdering Israeli civilians or security forces. The identified prisoners were seen withdrawing cash from ATMs at the hotel, celebrating, posing for photos with supporters, and some are reportedly applying for permanent residency with the aim of moving to Qatar, Turkey, or Tunisia. Israeli security experts warn that the unrestricted relocation and networking of these individuals poses a potential global terror threat, since they can reconnect with their organizations and rebuild terror infrastructure abroad. But I also want to ask, Egypt is supposed to be a central partner in U.S. President Trump's Great Peace Plan. So why is it hosting these mass murderers and terrorists? Why at a five-star hotel in the lap of luxury, especially at a time when we know how Hamas hosted Israeli hostages in dungeons underground? It seems the Marriott chain and the Egyptians have some explaining to do.
That doesn't suit you.
I'm telling you what's right for you.
Listen to me, I know what I'm talking about.
Feels uncomfortable? That's just about clothing, something you can change tomorrow. But what about choices that last a lifetime? In Israel, over 30,000 women every year feel that their most fundamental right is taken away. The ability to choose. Financial pressure, pressure from a partner, pressure from family, or even that quiet voice whispering, "You can't do this." That's why FRAD exists. Not to tell her what to do, not to choose for her, but to isolate the pressure, to enable a true free choice, whether it's emotional support, medical guidance, personal mentoring, career counseling, parenting education, or the most practical essentials: a crib, a stroller, clothes, diapers, baby supplies, food packages, everything she needs to make the choice she wants instead of the choice she feels forced to make. More than 89,000 women have already found the strength to choose and give birth. But it's not enough. We must give every woman the ability to choose. It is our moral and ethical duty. Every donation gives another woman the ability to choose. Every act of support means life for someone else. FRAT, giving hope to birth.
And now let's take a look at the weather forecast. Partly cloudy skies are expected around most of the country tonight, with temperatures reaching lows of 18 degrees Celsius or 65 degrees Fahrenheit. Then tomorrow we'll see clear skies alongside steady temperatures with highs of 28 degrees Celsius or 83 degrees Fahrenheit. And that's a wrap for today's news. For the latest updates from Israel on all your devices, be sure to follow our ILTV channels and our new live channel. And you can also catch us on Screen IL with 24/7 live coverage. Stay informed with the latest news straight from the heart of Israel. I'm Ladar Grave-Lazi. Be well, and thank you so much for watching.